Hello, and welcome to A VO's Journey. My name is Anthony Pica, and this show is all about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business, sidestep all the crazy things that this guy seems to step on. It is April 3rd. April 3rd. The day before my birthday. Yes, my birthday is April 4th. It's crazy, and I'm excited because I'm going to be 18. No. 18 plus a lot. Any Hoosers, it's wonderful to see you guys. I wanted to do a show today about when you know to raise your prices on Fiverr. We have a wonderful Facebook group of VO's Journey. And of course, and a wonderful academy, VO's Journey Elite Academy. And we get a lot of questions about when do I raise my prices on Fiverr, right? When is the right time? Because the whole idea is when you get started on a website like Fiverr, right? You're going to join primarily because you're brand new or you're trying to get work. So you might start at a lower price point, but that's not where we want to stay. We want to raise our prices steadily, all right, to get back up closer to more of an industry standard. But we use those prices in the beginning as a marketing tool in order to get us people to take a chance on us when we haven't, had any experience yet or any reviews or any jobs under our belt. So I wanted to take this video today and kind of talk to you about my thoughts about when you should raise your prices on Fiverr, and hopefully it will help you make that decision. So real quick, before we get started, make sure you check out the link below to A VO's Journey Elite Academy. We're offering 50% off the first month for you to give us a shot. Got a wonderful community there, lots and lots of learning to start and grow your voiceover business, live classes every single week with our coaches, and also we have our online casting agency right now through Academy Voices. So a lot of amazing stuff going on. We'd love to have you. So check that out. And also hit that like and subscribe button if you can. All right, so let's dive into this question about Fiverr and when to raise your prices. Okay, so I have a couple of different opinions, that I've always had. I've kept the same because they've worked, and I've taught a lot of people these methods. And first and foremost, just as always, no matter what, this is your business. It's no one else's business, which means that, in my opinion, because these are my opinions, in my humble opinion, you are the business owner. So your job as a business owner is to take in information from different sources, synthesize that information, right? And make the decision then to create what you want for your business and to accomplish your goals. So again, first and foremost, you make your decisions, all right? In the end, what that works best for you, that what helps you get business and also helps you sleep at night, okay? So that is, again, your choice. That's the first thing. All right, that's our disclaimer. Okay, so the second thing is, let's talk about the actual pricing structure. A lot of people who start working on Fiverr, right, begin charging $5 or $10 for 100, 150 words. And the whole goal of this idea, all right, is to, again, market, use a marketing tactic through pricing to get people to take a chance on you, right? And that's why, a lot of people start off at that price point because they have no work under their belt or they have no reviews. They have no jobs yet. So they need to give somebody an incentive out of the ocean of voice actors that are everywhere, right, to take a chance. But as we go along, the idea is that we're not going to stay at that price point. Okay, it's very difficult, near impossible, to make a living or a career at that price point. All right, but the idea is to get going, but not to stay there. Okay, now, what are the first kind of things you want to look at when raising your prices? So for me, how I did it personally, and then I'll give you some other tips of other ways that I know other people have done it. But the way I looked at it was this. I wanted, and I got this from my theater background and when I was directing and producing plays. All right. I'll never forget this. I remember I was putting on a play and, we had, the audience was kind of like half full. in the theater. And I was like, well, we need to add more days to the run to get more people. And I'll never forget this. My wife said to me, she's like, what did she say? She said something like, why add, like if you can't sell out one day, why do you think adding more days is going to, is going to be worth it? Right? Like if you're not selling enough tickets on one day, why do you think adding more days is really the problem? Okay. Now of course you can make comments about availability and stuff, but the overall point about this was that, it's not time to add more, right? When you're not even filling up what you currently have. So I started to live by the idea that I wasn't going to raise my prices until I was so busy, right, that I couldn't do any more work at that price point. And there's something simple for that, right? It's supply and demand, it's economics, right? When the demand is so high and the supply is low, the only way to mitigate that is to be able to raise your prices. Okay? And that is how I raised my prices, was when when I started out a while ago on Fiverr, many years ago, and I was charging $10. I think I was making I was charging $5 for 100 or 150 words. I was making like $2,000 or $3,000 a month, and it was a lot, so much work, right? And I had to. It was time to raise my prices, right? Because I couldn't do anymore, and I couldn't see a way forward at that, like being able to make more than that, because there was no more time in the day. Literally, there was no more hours in the day left. Now I was working my full-time job also at that time, but still there was no more, with the job, and there was no more time. So how was I going to make more, and how was I going to leave my job if I couldn't make more? That price point just wasn't going to work. So I started to raise my prices. And what I found is at that time, raising my prices from like $5 to $10, $10 to $15, $15 to $20 to $25 to $30 to $35, and so far up and up as I've gone now over the years, that business kept coming in, right? And then I might get to a price point where business slowed, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to stay at this price point for a while and see how this picks up and everything. And the same thing happens over time, raising your prices and stuff. And now again, we're just talking about Fiverr, but the supply and demand idea on Fiverr is very real, because there is a lot of demand, because Fiverr spends a lot of money on marketing. A lot of money, millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars a month, right, on marketing. And so, that's something that I used to raise my prices, and I still use it today. When I'm super busy or whatever, I raise my prices, right, to a point where I can work with people who can work with you. Now here's a little tip on a side note on this one, is that I do have customers who might be at a lower price point, but they've been with me for years, right, and I've decided to kind of grandfather them in, right, to work with them continuously, at the price point that we had, because they've been such good customers. But that's your decision as a business owner. Do you want to keep, do you want to do something like that? So that's one way to look at when the time comes to raise your pricing. Another way is hitting milestones, right? Like, for example, becoming a level 1 seller, or a level 2 seller, or a top rated seller, or getting to 100 orders. I've seen all sorts of, different types of, methods for raising your prices and when the time is right. That boils down to, and if you think about it, that still is you growing, you know what I'm saying? Or for example, maybe you got new equipment, right? Maybe you got a new microphone, you got a better studio, you've upgraded your stuff. It's not a bad time to raise your prices. Okay. But I always say that, remember, this is one of those situations where, you need to be able to bring in the work. At least my opinion, you need to be able to bring in the work. You need to be able to get the work before you're going to start raising your prices. Now, setting your price limit, again, that's up to you. You don't have to start at $5, right? To me, it's an arbitrary number, right? Because it's not where we're going. Okay, it's just where we are right now to get started. But you could start at $150 if you want. I mean, it's really up to you, right? It really is your business. And yes, Fiverr, you can charge whatever you want on Fiverr. Okay. Now I will caution you in the sense about just Fiverr, right? Because I've used this kind of adage, "when in Rome" kind of idea. But the reality is the people who are coming to Fiverr, all right, mostly now Fiverr's doing a massive job of marketing outside of that, right, and really trying to grow. And they've been doing that for years, right? Really trying to grow wider clientele, and they're not trying to shed their name Fiverr, but they're stuck with that name, and I think they really want to go beyond that. But the point I'm trying to make to you is most of the people who are coming to Fiverr are looking for some sort of discount, right, service. So you have to take that in consideration, that when you're doing your pricing, if you go there, you're like, well, I'm not going to charge anything less than this because, that's what I'm worth and everything. And you guys know how I feel about that. I don't like to put a price tag on any of our worths, because I think everybody's worth is more than you could charge ever. All right. I do think your business, right, and your business name, right, the entity that you've created does have some value, all right, as you grow it. So, like, to me, that's what I feel when people are saying that. They're really talking about their business value, because I could never put a price on how valuable you are, about valuable, I am. It's incalculable. So I don't like to use that term, but pushing ahead with that, I do like to think that, you have to say, well, the people on Fiverr are only going to, people that are coming there are going to want to spend XYZ. That's why the sweet spot on Fiverr, typically you see the super sellers. So you have like a 0, level 1, level 2, and a top rated seller. You also have Fiverr Pro, but they don't have a ranking for this. But the internal circle of sellers, who sell over 4, 5, 600 voiceovers a month, they kind of call them super sellers. And they have their own community, right? It's just a community between voice actors. And those are voice actors who are doing a lot of voiceovers. I mean, a lot. And I find that the sweet spot there, right, is between $10 and $20. And those are the people who are making, $20, $30, $40,000 a month. Again, it's a lot of work. However, those people have found a way, right, to, they have a work day, they put it in. I know a lot of them have assistants, right, who help them. But a lot of them just, they log on, they do their thing during working hours, and then during off hours, they turn off their phone and they don't take any messages, so they have a life, and then they get back the next day and do it, and they found a way to make that work for them, right? But a lot of us aren't going to get to that super seller status. We still can get to a nice selling status on Fiverr, but the point I'm trying to make to you is that that's a sweet spot I found on Fiverr. Now, me, right, I'm charged, like, my current price is $150, right, for just the start of 150 words, right? And that doesn't include usage, doesn't include runtime or the mediums in which, you're going to show it. I mean, my pricing has completely evolved. You know what I mean? Or buyout, right? I mean, my prices have completely evolved and changed over years of this to where I feel like I'm comfortable with what I'm doing now, and I like what I'm doing. But it's not how I started. And I've risen my prices accordingly. All right. So again, you don't have to end where you start, for one. And two, I've always grown my work, or I've always raised my prices when I was too busy to handle all the work, right? That was when I was timed, or I decided, or I made another decision that I was going to charge XYZ, right? Because that's what I was doing right now. Now, I will say this, and this is a challenge that I've run into, and quite honestly, it's a valid argument. It is difficult, because I learned this lesson. I was many years ago when I first started, I had received a email from someone looking to do wanting a voiceover, and they did not tell me anything other than they were looking for a price for a voiceover. So, and they gave me a script. Well, I was on Fiverr, and I was charging $5 at the time or whatever for 100 words, 150 words. But I was like, well, I'm not on Fiverr, so I'm going to go to the GVAA rate guide, right? And I'm going to quote them from what the rate guide says because I'm not on Fiverr. And I'll never forget, they came back and they were like, "Oh, it's such a mean email," because they were so mad. They're like, "You're such a hypocrite. You're charging XYZ on this place," and so they had apparently found me on Fiverr and then found me off of Fiverr and emailed me because they didn't want to pay for extra. They didn't want to work on Fiverr. They wanted to work through other means. And I learned the lesson at that point. That whatever I charge one place, I better charge it everywhere. Okay, unless I was on a platform that forced me to charge something else. Does that make sense? Because a place like for example, the Voice Realm, they have a set fee that you have to they charge no matter what. Same with Voquent, same with a lot of these other places. They have their own fee structure that you're on there. You deal with their fee structure. But I learned that, so it led down a path where I realized that I did become, for a period of time, over reliant upon websites like Fiverr. Okay, because I realized that I didn't feel comfortable marketing my services at that price point. You know what I mean? And that was and that was a challenge that I ran into. But again, I over time I realized, again, we are growing and we're starting a business from scratch. We're trying to get people to notice us, to give us a chance. So, I never forget my grandfather when he opened a lot of businesses. And he's from that Great Depression era, and he just knew how to do it right. I mean, he would open a business, and what he would do for the first few months is he would just give away stuff. Like he would give away stuff, or he'd give steep discounts to get people interested in what he was doing, liking the quality of the product that he had, and also, right, gaining trust, building goodwill. And he would do that, and it worked every single time, right? I mean, it worked every single time. And he never had a problem changing his prices back or moving them back to where they needed to be. But the idea was starting out, you've got to give people incentive, but it's not where you want to stay. Okay. So remember that. I don't think we often talk about that with our pricing, especially on Fiverr. Is where we start is not where we want to stay. Okay, so that's an important point. So anyway, so those are some of the tips and the reasons behind, or at least some of the things I've done, but also some tips on when to raise your prices. If you are looking at your stuff and you're like, man, I'm not getting anything, okay, and I'm charging the least amount, and you might feel like you want to do other things. So the price point themselves is one thing, but then charging more, doing other things like raising your word count. Okay, that's one thing that you can raise, how many words you sell. You can also change your commercial rights or your broadcast rights, or you can change all those pricings. You can change how much you charge after the first, right, 100, 150 words, 200 words, 500, whatever you are offering. All right, then you can change that to the next one. And I think that, those are also very viable tools as well. But in the end, I'm just, and again, this is just one person's opinion. In the end, I always view it on supply and demand. Okay, I always view it on supply and demand. If I'm not busy enough to raise my prices, why would people pay more for something that they're not willing to pay less for? All right. So have I created enough value? Now, there's you, and this is just we're just talking about Fiverr and that platform. You know what I mean? There's so many other platforms out there, but just Fiverr and that platform. So I hope this has helped. Real quick on a side note, I do want to mention about when it comes to offering commercial rights, broadcast rights, I see a lot of people building in commercial rights and broadcast rights into their pricing so that they don't have to argue with people about it or try, because remember, a lot of people who come to Fiverr, A, they really don't know how we charge, you know what I mean, voice, or B, they're just looking for a flat fee that doesn't have all these other fees. They're not, they don't understand royalties, rights, the ownership, okay, of our intellectual property. That's not something that they're thinking about, okay. And Fiverr set it up in a manner in which it's more of like an a la carte kind of thing. So I don't have any problem with people building in, you know what I mean, their pricing, to say like, this includes commercial rights and everything. But I've never done that myself. All right. And I always, whenever I send an offer to someone, I include those unless otherwise stated. Okay. And now I will admit, when I was first starting out, I remember there was a lot of arguing with people about it because they didn't know. But that was also because I didn't understand what I was doing. Meaning like, couple things. One, if it's not a bad idea if you don't like to negotiate. I understand that, and some people are big on no negotiation, and that's okay. That is again, and by going back to the beginning of this, and I'll let you guys go. So to chat, me, I talk forever, but it is your business, so you decide whether you want to negotiate with people or not. But I found one of the biggest strong suits that I had early on was my ability to compromise and to get the job, because in the end, you want to get the job. Now, there's nothing wrong with saying no. But when you're first starting out, you know what I mean, turning down one job after another. Now, of course, there's always outrageous things that you want to turn down. But I'm talking about in reason, okay? Over $5 or $10, is it really worth you not getting that review and that experience? Like, again, people always ask me, should I accept this job? You know what I mean? And if it's not completely outrageous, all right, then I'm like, are you doing anything right now? And I'm normally talking about new or upcoming people, right, who are questioning what they're what should they do and what they shouldn't do. I'm like, do you have a job? Have you gotten a job? Is there a bunch of jobs in your queue? Are you do you have jobs down the like? If you're not doing anything, why not take the job? Because they're going to give the job to someone else. Why not you? So I know there's a lot of different opinions about these things, but those have just been my opinions. About, the whole idea here is for you to bring in work. All right. And again, where you start right now is not where you end. All right. Where we're starting with our pricing right now is not where we're going. So these are just some thoughts about when you raise your prices, how some of the price structure on Fiverr for me works at least, and what I've taught a lot of people. But again, in the end, any of these methods, it really again boils down to what do you like? What do you feel comfortable with? You know what I mean? And, what is best for you in your business? Only you can answer that. All right. So listen, thank you so much for listening to me ramble on about pricing structure. But like I said in the beginning, I saw a lot of people in the Facebook group asking about it and everything. And I thought I would, just put out a video about pricing and see if I can help. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure, again, you check out that link to VO's Journey Elite Academy, where, we of course, we teach you about Fiverr, but we teach about all sorts of things, and also direct marketing. I mean, I think that's a big part of what I've started to fall in love with, because I realized over the years, Fiverr is a great place to start. But remember, we're helping Fiverr build their business, and they're paying us to help them, right? Well, that's cool because I like getting that money, but at the same time, I want to use that money to build my own business, right? And on the back end. So, we help you with that as well. So anyways, thank you guys so much. You have a wonderful, wonderful Monday. All right, and I will talk to you soon. Goodbye. Goodbye.